So,
separate seat and their own vehicles with these two new bikes that attach to the sides. Although the vehicles looked great on their own, but fit so well together when combined. Despite being 8 years old at this point, this is still one of my favorite Ninjago sets of all time. In 2019, the Ninjago Legacy line was introduced, where they went back and remade old Ninjago sets, and from its onset, I was really hopeful for a Legacy Ultrasonic Raider. I mean, the Ultra Stealth Raider was so good, so how much better could an even newer version be? And in 2021, it finally happened, but unfortunately, it was a huge letdown. Instead of trying to make it more accurate to the show, such as allowing 3 Ninja to fit in the front seat, they reimagined it instead. The treads on the side could come off, just like on the Ultra Stealth Raider, but instead of being these really cool bikes, they were these weird sidecar things. Which I'll admit, I don't entirely hate, they're very silly, but they're definitely a huge downgrade. The bigger issue here was the play features, which barely worked. The wings on the Flyer were quick to fall apart, and the front cockpit didn't lock in place, so it was very easy to flip upside down accidentally. But then the biggest problem, there was no speakers on this build. The sonic part of the name Ultrasonic Raider comes from the fact that there are these giant speakers on the back to fight the Great Devourer. The Stealth Raider got rid of them, and that's why it's not called the Sonic Raider, it's called the Stealth Raider. But the Legacy version is meant to be that same one from Season 1, and it's missing its most important feature. So all in all, this was a very disappointing set, and I was really hoping the next version would be better. Well, we got that set this year in 2024, and no, it was not better. No speakers again, but at the very least this one wasn't called the Ultrasonic Raider, it was called the Ninja Team Combo Vehicle. But I think it overcorrected from the last version too much and went way too simple. The bikes on the side were better bikes, but they didn't really feel like they combined with the vehicle the way they did on the Stealth Raider, rather they were just sort of tacked onto the sides. The center section was stylistically all over the place with a race car body, but it kept the big treads at the front, which just felt mismatched. And the Flyer here was fine, but it was our smallest yet, and just like the bikes, didn't feel like it properly combined, rather it just sort of got tacked on the top. The colors on this one I also really don't like. With the previous versions, the vehicle had a very consistent color scheme of white, black, and a little bit of red, with small touches of individual ninja colors on the Stealth Raider. This is a big contrast to another type of combo vehicle, the Combo Mech, where every ninja vehicle has their own color scheme. I think both of these approaches are great ways to do it, and both work perfectly fine, but the combo vehicle sort of combines them together, and in my opinion doesn't look too great. The bikes stick to the white, just like on the previous Raiders, but the body is very green for Lloyd, similar to the Combo Mech. It all comes off as very disconnected and not like one solid build like the other vehicles we just talked about. And then on top of all of this, the set is $90, the second most expensive of any of these, despite being by far the smallest. So while I love the Ultrasonic Raider and Ninjago and it's one of my favorite vehicles of all time, these last two versions have just been major letdowns.
So I am going to make my own Ultra Raider and be showing a couple more mocks at the end, so if you want to see everything you better stick around till the end. Here is the Raider, but before we look at that, let's first look at the minifigures I made for it. Here are the 4 ninja I made. I tried to make them look like the suits from the Dragonstone Shrine set. Just ignore Zane's hairpiece, I don't have the real one. I mean, it's not like it appears in a $10 set or anything. I didn't really care about the suits that much and I focused more on the build. That's why some of the suits look pretty mismatched. For example, how Zane and Kai don't have sleeves and why Kai is the only one with a headband. Now let's go to the villain figs. I put one villain in this set. I tried to make it look like this minifigure even though it is technically not canon to the show. I used the torso and legs from Evil J, the head from Evolved Mask Warrior, and the hood from the Spirit of the Temple. I only have one Volf Warrior and it's from part 2. Now let's move on to the build. Before we move on to the build, only 0.6% of the people actually watching these videos are subscribed, so if we're in that 0.6%, please subscribe. So yeah, here is the Raider I made. I think I am going to call it the Ultra Speed Raider cause I couldn't think of any other names that have ultra than a word that starts with us than Raider. Anyways, here is a look at the jet on top. And also the side bikes on the sides. Honestly, out of the 4 vehicles, the 2 side bike things are definitely my favorites. There is one for Kai and one for Jay. The big thing in the middle is Cole's vehicle. You can tell whose vehicle is for who, because a Nexo Knight's Shield and a circular to buy to piece will be on their vehicle. For example, Jay has a blue Nexo Knight's Shield and a blue to buy to piece. Now here is how you combine them. The first step is pretty easy. You simply just take the jet off like so. Well, except that wasn't supposed to come off. But you can just put it back on. Now, moving on to the side bikes. It is slightly more complicated, but still pretty easy. You just carefully take them off like so. Just like that. Well, except that wasn't supposed to come off. But you can just put it back on. Now obviously you don't just do it on Kai's side, but you also have to do it on Jay's side for pretty obvious reasons. Just like that. Well, don't make it tilt. Anyways, now with the whole build disassembled, we can now look at all the 4 builds individually. And so here are all 4 of the disassembled builds all lined up. So first we have Zane's jet, then we have the 2 side bike things, one for Kai and one for Jay, and last but certainly not least we have in the middle Cole's big bike thing. Now let's look at all 4 of them up close. Starting off, we have my absolute favorites, which are Kai's and Jay's bikes. I like them so much because they aren't really bikes, but they are very unique and still don't look as stupid as those weird side cart things on the Legacy version made in 2021. Even though, as you will see many times throughout this video, I will be using pieces from that set many times in this mock. Now moving on, we have the jet for Zane. Out all of them, this is the one I made last. This is probably also the most simple one in fact. The wings can actually fold up, WHW, and it is on the main build. In real life, a plane with foldable wings wouldn't surprisingly not work at all and will probably explode somehow. Wait, did somebody say explode? Anyways, now let's look at Cole's vehicle. So yeah, here is a full look at Cole's vehicle. It has one big wheel in the back and a smaller wheel in the front. Now we have the cockpit in the front. At the bottom of the vehicle, there is a set of support wheels, because the front and back wheel are kind of just hanging there. There is actually a cool, hidden compartment deep inside the vehicle. You just need to take a couple of pieces off to get to it. This is it. Inside it can't actually contain that much at all due to the size limitations, but I was able to fit 2 weapons inside, which are a gunmetal gray scythe and a gold scythe. So yeah, that's that. Now I just have to put it back together. Just like that. Whoops. If breaking apart is actually a feature, I forgot about to get to the compartment faster. It's way easier than what I was showing you before. Anyways, moving on to some other mocks now. So first of all, here is a little for plus bike I made. Originally it was a part of a cool blue jet thing I made from Jay's arcade pod, and this bike just attached to the bottom, but that jet broke before I could even take a picture of it, so I can't show it to anyone. It has some engine things, a blue thing in the back to connect to the now broken jet, and a lantern would have been on the black jumper plate. That's basically it for this one. Now moving on to my Zane's Brickhead. So yeah, this is my Zane Brickhead. He has a shuriken in one hand, and has trans blue accents all around. He doesn't have a pink brick in his head because 9 droids do not have brains. I do not have any brick heads to compare him to, and his eyes are blue. Ninjago has released brick heads before, surprisingly. So that's basically it for this video, so like, comment, subscribe, and bye.